There's potentially sufficient fuel on board to attempt this rendezvous, but it's a huge expense and it's a huge diversion of a spacecraft from its originally assigned task, which is to investigate Jupiter.
That's not entirely accurate.
Hey everyone, Dronetek here. I know there's a lot going on in politics, but this story is completely insane, and I think that a lot of you are gonna find it very interesting. Now, you may have already heard about this. A lot of people on YouTube are talking about it, but I figure a lot of people that watch my channel probably haven't seen this news yet. Right now, there is a very strange object going through our solar system called 3I Atlas. 3I refers to the fact that it is the third interstellar object that we have tracked going through our solar system. Now, it is most likely just a strange comet with characteristics that we're not used to seeing. But these other strange characteristics definitely deserve some attention, and the reaction coming from both the media and scientists is very strange. All right, just to set this up for you, News Nation interviewed this well-known UFO journalist named Ross Coulthart, and this guy is known for journalism digging into government cover-ups of UFOs. His reaction to this story just makes absolutely no sense. You have to see it for yourself.
Comet 3I Atlas was discovered on July 1st. According to NASA, it is just the third known object to be discovered within our own solar system that originated from outside our solar system. And it has drifted for millions, possibly even billions of years before it arrived here. Joining us to talk more about this, News Nation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. Ross, it is always so good to see you. And first, let's just start with this assertion by Professor Loeb. Why does he believe this could be an alien craft, and what is your take here?
Good evening, Natasha. Well, look, I think the primary reason why Professor Loeb thinks that it might be something of a technological origin rather than something natural interstellar is because of its trajectory, that it does pass unusually behind the sun at its closest point behind when it's near the sun, and more importantly the speed. He attaches a lot of significance to the speed. But I do notice, Natasha, in his blog, Professor Loeb has actually said, and I quote, by far the most likely outcome will be that this is a completely natural interstellar object, probably a comet.
What's your point?
Okay, and that doesn't really matter. It might be a comet, but as he just pointed out, there are some strange characteristics about it, like the fact that it's passing so close by all of these planets on its way around the sun, which I'm not a mathematician. Again, I'm not a physicist. I don't really know a lot about this stuff, but from the videos I've watched, the mathematical probability of this just happening completely by chance, naturally, are astronomical.
This object is passing through the solar system on the plane of the ecliptic, perfectly aligned with the inner solar system to make close approaches to Mars, to Venus, and to Jupiter. If you plug in that possibility to any AI, any random calculator out there to determine just how likely that is, you will see that it's tens of thousands to one. It could perhaps even be millions to one against that something like this would happen purely by chance.
You're gonna hear them talking about this Israeli-American physicist named Avi Loeb, who has been the one raising the alarm that this thing could possibly be artificial, and that because of that, we should really be turning every asset that we have out in space to this thing and collecting any data that we can, because even if it's not artificial, this is only the third interstellar object we've ever tracked, and there's a lot of weird things about it that we can learn from. So why would scientists, and especially this UFO journalist, not be interested in doing that? Right now, there is the possibility that we could take a probe, the Juno probe that's currently at Jupiter, and is planned to be decommissioned just a few days before this thing is going to be passing close by Jupiter. So Avi Loeb and some other people have suggested that we repurpose this thing before, because it's scheduled to be decommissioned, plunged into Jupiter's atmosphere. Why don't we, if it has enough fuel, why don't we turn this thing to this comet or whatever it is, get it as close as we can, and get as much data as possible? Sounds like a scientific treasure trove, right? You would think everybody would be all about it. It doesn't really matter. And so you hear this guy make a point that Avi Loeb even said that it's probably just a comet. Who cares? That doesn't really matter. I mean, the chance that it might be something artificial is just icing on the cake, right? for any scientist, they'd still want to go get as much data on this thing as we can. So it's very strange, this reaction.
And boy, is Professor Loeb copping it at the moment from traditional astronomy. He's really drawing a lot of fire for his suggestion that this might be something technological, something alien, because frankly, there isn't really a lot of evidence to support that claim.
You know, he is suggesting using the sunsetting NASA spacecraft Juno to intercept this object, to use that opportunity. Can you help explain that move and if there is value to that?
Okay, well, Juno is obviously a spacecraft sent out by NASA that's currently orbiting Jupiter. There is potentially sufficient fuel on board to attempt this rendezvous, but it's a huge expense and it's a huge diversion of a spacecraft from its originally assigned task, which is to investigate Jupiter.
Sure, but it's going to be decommissioned anyway, like 8 days before this thing is going to pass by. So we can actually extend its life, give it another mission, right? Doesn't that make sense? And again, remember, this guy is like a UFO journalist. He exposes government cover-ups of things like this. So it's kind of weird that he's talking like this. Sure, there's not a lot of evidence. There are other weird things about it, which I'll go over in just a minute. But it just, the way he's talking and trying to discredit this physicist, it's odd to me. Is it odd to you guys?
I think personally there's a lot of merit in the broad idea of what Professor Loeb is suggesting, which is that we do need to resource the investigation of so-called techno signatures more rigidly, that we do need to start looking more aggressively than just using SETI, which is only looking for, that's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's only looking for radio signals, radio waves, and frankly, any alien civilization probably wouldn't be using electromagnetic energy in that way. So there's a frustration among a lot of people in science, including Professor Loeb, that not enough resources is going to looking for other techno signatures. I just don't think, from talking to many astronomers, it's a good idea to go diverting existing spacecraft from, for example, Juno in orbit around Jupiter, or suggesting that these are necessarily alien probes with hostile intent. It's inflammatory, and frankly, there's not a lot of evidence for it on current.
Inflammatory? I mean, there's not a lot of evidence for a lot of stuff in space. That's why we're investigating and learning about it. You can't learn about it unless you investigate. So this reaction from him doesn't even make sense. And again, he keeps talking like, oh, we could possibly lose something very important here if we go. It's inflammatory, and we be taking this probe and doing something else. Why not? It's going to be decommissioned anyway. It's not going to be that much money. I mean, the probe already exists. It's going to be decommissioned. You're probably going to have to pay some scientists to, do all the mission stuff that you would need to do to recalibrate it and send it over to the comet. I'm sure that would cost some money, but this is a one-time kind of opportunity. When you talk about these scientific opportunities, this is, these things do not come around. That's one of the things that makes all of this so weird. Not only is it mathematically improbable, the course it's taking, but its size is also very improbable.
In addition, the object is so unbelievably large, at least 10 kilometers in diameter. That makes it a very strange and unusual object, given how few interstellar objects we've seen overall, and that the others that we have seen have been far smaller than this one. Flies in the face of statistical probability that an object this huge would be passing through the solar system at random, given how rare interstellar objects seem to be. And if an object like this just happens to be passing through the solar system now, then why haven't we spotted thousands of objects like Oumuamua and 2I Borisov? It doesn't make a great deal of sense.
There's more though, like the fact that they're not even really sure how big this thing is. Now, the reason they're calling it a comet is because right now it's got sort of that coma around it that you would expect to see in a comet, say like Halley's Comet, right? And that's the outgassing. That's the materials, the ice or whatever it is that makes up the comet is melting or reacting to the sun's heat, and that's the outgassing that you get. That's how you get the tail on a comet, right? Problem is, this thing has some sort of outgassing, way before it gets to the sun, way before it should be having those effects. Okay, that's weird. It's also not made of ice. There's no data at all yet that says it's made of ice, and so there really should be no outgassing going on at all anyway.
Spectrographic analyses of the coma has turned up no gases or chemicals whatsoever. No free oxygen, no hydrogen, no ice, nothing. Nothing to suggest that there's any sort of active cometary outgassing taking place.
And so what exactly are we seeing? What is that coma around this thing? We don't know. Now, of course, the guys like this and the mainstream scientists are saying it's just a weird comet, something we haven't seen before, and they're treating these things like it's no big deal. Again, I'm not an expert on this by any means, so maybe this is not completely out of the realm. Videos I've watched from other scientists say that it is very unusual. The fact that apparently this thing does have a tail, okay, that you would expect from a comet, but it's going towards the sun. It's not pointing away from the comet, it's pointing in front of it. Almost like it's slowing. It's almost like, like a rocket booster to slow you down or something, right? It's not trailing off of the comet. And this thing is kind of scary, even if it's not some sort of artificial technology, because even though it doesn't look like it's going to hit Earth or anything, if it's such a big object that if it were to hit any of these bodies that it's getting close to, it would cause major havoc in the entire solar system. And so the big question here is what's going to happen when it gets to the sun, because it actually travels behind the sun right as it's coming by us. So another weird coincidence that it's actually going to be hidden around the back of the sun as we're coming kind of by it, where it's in our line of sight. So we're not going to be able to actually see it. So if you were to take that as like some sort of, let's say it's an invading alien spacecraft or something that wants to destroy us, well, it might swing around the sun and then come at us where we can't see it. Right? Because it'll be coming right at us. It'll be coming at us so fast, we're not gonna be able to do anything about it. Okay, now that's way out there, right? Probably not it, but who knows? Let's get some craft out there to check it out. The way these guys are acting makes me think that they already know something and the government doesn't want people panicking. Maybe, there's other reasons they want to keep it secret. I don't know, but the way that these scientists and this guy in particular are reacting to this is very strange to me. Let me know what you all think in the comments, and if you're still here, might as well hit that like button and subscribe. I do post on a regular basis, so make sure to keep checking back for more. Thanks a lot.